The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Welcome to another episode of the Icons of Real Estate podcast, where we highlight top professionals who are making waves in the industry. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and today I'm really thrilled to introduce Kerry Hartman, a luxury realtor specializing in Southwest Florida. With over 2 decades in the industry, with over 2 decades in the fashion industry, Kerry brings a creative eye, you can see that in the background, and a passion for connecting clients with their dream homes. And her people-first approach and deep market knowledge make her a standout in the world of luxury real estate. So let's dive into her journey, her insights, and dedication to helping clients find their perfect slice of paradise. So welcome to the show, Kerry.
Oh, thank you for the wonderful introduction. I hope I can live up to all of that. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, you transitioned from over 2 decades in the fashion industry to luxury real estate. So what inspired that? What inspired you to make that shift?
So I had been, as you said, in the fashion industry for over 20 years. And the last portion of that, probably the last 11 years, I was out of the country about 90% of the year. And not out of the country, Mexico, out of the country, India, China, Australia, New Zealand, all over the world. The last organization I was with was a licensed model, and we were in 168 countries of the 198 that exist. And
Wow.
so I had to go to those countries and look at the brand positioning to make sure that globally we were consistent and that our product looked appropriate by region. So, that amount of travel, although sounds glorious, we were in Europe 4 to 5 times a year for Trend, which is always an easier trip, right? But I was head of product all the way through. So from design through product development, commercialization, importing it, and then merchandising in stores. So it was, a large job, a plethora of people reporting to me, and, that you feel responsible for their growth and development as well. And, one day I woke up, I was startled out of a dream. I'm sure that's happened to many of us. And I looked around and I thought, I don't know where I am, what time it is, or what's going on. And at the time, I happened to be in Agra, India. So my flight home, I had a 32-hour commute home. And I just really thought about my life at that point. I've missed births of my nieces and nephews. I've missed weddings. My parents are getting older. And I just thought, I think I'm ready for a change. So that was the impetus.
I can completely understand that. I mean, a lot of people would love that, but I can imagine after a while, the
Yes.
novelty wears off. But
Yeah.
why? What inspired you to go into real estate?
So, I had built homes. I have flipped homes and owned several homes and investment properties. And I love the creative process in redoing properties as well. So I thought, real estate has always been on my radar. I had members of my family that were in the real estate business, and I just thought that it's my next step and something that I'm passionate about and enjoy doing.
Wow. And how do you think your background in fashion, how has it influenced your approach to real estate?
So I think there's been 2 influences, not just aesthetically. I think because I ran such large businesses, my business when I was in Chicago was almost $1 billion. I think from a business standpoint, I can really relate to people and executives and the clientele who buy the types of properties that I sell on a business level, not just as a real estate agent, but more, with cap rates, ROI, and really market trends and all of those things from a business acumen standpoint that have served me very well, as well as aesthetically being able to walk in. My AirPod fell, excuse me. Be able
That's
to
okay.
walk in and see beyond just the walls of a property, what it could be, what it should be, and how to bring that shine back has really served me well. It has served me well in conjunction with my business acumen. And I have been fortunate that several people that I've sold homes to have also asked me to be involved in the process of, remodeling and furnishing and all of those other things that I can help provide.
Yeah. Well, I can see that that's helping you stand out. I mean, your expertise in the design and ability to transform spaces is obviously one of your standout skills. So how do you incorporate the creative vision into helping your clients find or showcase their dream home?
Sure. So, a lot of it is putting together Pinterest boards and using all of those tools, that everyone has access to, and, kind of sharing that vision, color palettes, specific pieces of furnishings. And another thing that I really pride myself on, even if you're talking about multi-million-dollar homes, it's still someone's money. And so I don't go in thinking, well, it's not my money, let's just suggest. I really get in there and look and dig deep to find those quality pieces, but at seemingly affordable prices, at least at those multi-million-dollar homes, right? And so I never take that for granted. I know it'd be really easy for me to walk into any top tier store and just start, writing checks, but I just don't believe in doing that.
Brilliant. Oh, well, that's why they need you on their side, right? And so Southwest Florida's luxury real estate market,
Yes.
it's known for its exclusive waterfront properties and
Correct.
upscale lifestyle. So what
Sure.
excites you most about working in this market, and how do you tailor your services to meet the unique needs of luxury buyers and sellers?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is, when I first chose to ingratiate myself in that market, it was a very purposeful decision. Again, I look at market trends and some of the hottest markets in the US, and Southwest Florida definitely ticks all of the boxes. I have been going down there from a very young age. So I think knowledge, first and foremost, is what makes you stand out. Southwest Florida in particular was built on community types and HOAs, right? And beachfront property. And so, to know how much that boat lift holds, is the, path to the Gulf direct or not, how wide is the passage there, all of those things, as well as the best golf courses, who has them, is there a wait, can I get right in, is it deeded with the home, do I need to apply separately, all of that, what it means. And so I spent my first 5 months down there literally going into every community, understanding what amenities it held, what the waits were to partake in some of those amenities, what the HOA fees are, what they include. I mean, it is, it's enormous, right? And so I think first and foremost, it's being super knowledgeable and a resident expert in that area and being able to articulate very well based on what the client is, what their wishes are, right? And so it's very different than other markets where school district tends to be very high on the list and drives the sale of homes. It's completely different in Southwest Florida. It's about amenities, beachfront or not, and proximity to the Gulf.
Right. So it really is attention to detail, and that's what you're bringing to the table.
1,000%. And so once you're super knowledgeable about that, because it has such vast offerings to take someone's wants and needs and really tailor it down to very specific communities, areas, geographic locations, is the perfect place to start. And then honing in, getting deeper into the aesthetic feel of what they're looking for. But first and foremost, because in our area, most of the people are buying second homes because it is a vacation for them when they come down. Those things are very important. And so you have to start there.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Right. So, well, I mean, client satisfaction and forging meaningful connections are obviously key to your success. So, how do you maintain such a people first approach I mean, it's such a competitive industry. And can you share maybe a memorable experience where this made all the difference for a client?
Sure. So, I think this is really relevant with what's going on now, especially on the buyer side, right? Getting people to sign buyer broker agreements when they really haven't met you or worked with you for the most part, is a bit daunting. And I really try and take the edge off of that. I think first and foremost, I am whomever I'm representing their fiduciary, and I take that really seriously. And I think as just in casual conversations they have with me, I've been told one of the appeals about working with me is there is not a pushy bone in my body. I will inform, I will not push, and I will only offer my opinion when it is requested. All have different tastes, and something that might not be anything that I would buy, they love, or whomever loves. And so I don't want to impose that. Now, if they're asking me very specific statistical information about the property they're looking at, or HOA fees or factual things, of course I provide that. But I really hold back on pushing or giving my opinion unless they're asking for it. But I think most recently, again, trying to get people to sign buyer broker agreements that have never met you is a bit daunting. So I had someone call me on a listing that I had and asked if I would show it to them. And I explained the buyer broker agreement. And of course, he was very on edge saying, well, I don't want to sign up for anything. I just want to see this house. And I said, no problem. So I wrote a buyer broker agreement for just that home. And then I wrote another one and brought it with me for a term. And so we went in, and the home wasn't for him. But I said, there are other homes in here that I think would be more appropriate just based on kind of what we're talking about. This is a long process, right? It's what will be, what is meant to be will be. But I think there's some other homes that might be, more appropriate based on the conversation we're having. And so I said, unfortunately, I can't show you those until we sign another broker agreement. We probably don't want to sign one for every single home we go to see. So I did bring another one. This is for a term. And you know what? If for any reason you're working with me during this term and you say you're just not a great fit, we'll terminate it. It's just, I only want people to work with me who want to work with me. I don't want to rope people or confine them to working with me because of this piece of paper. And he said that made all the difference in the world. It was just choice. It was, if you don't like it, we'll call it quits. It's okay. And, and we'll both move on. And that for him made all the difference. And I actually sold him a home. We just closed 2 weeks ago, and he loves it. And that was that.
Fantastic. So it just goes to show that when you show up to serve and not treat it as purely a transactional thing, you have got their interests at heart. And that is obviously why you're so successful. So,
well, and to that point, that same buyer, he was an older client. He's in his mid 80s, and didn't even know how to sign e-documents. And so he did not live close to me, but I was trying to get him to sign some documents, and he was really struggling. And I drove down there and sat with him and downloaded some things on his phone, not just for this occasion, but in the future. And he just said, that made all the difference to me. You showed up, cleared your calendar, and now you've given me skills that I can use because people are asking him to e-sign all the time things. He's in the
Mm.
financial industry. And so, for him, it wasn't just that in this moment I got him to sign the documents and we're moving on. It was that I said, here's how you do it on your phone. This is what you look for. And now he's using that and still calls me and says, that was so great. So,
Brilliant.
again, it's about the people.
It's about the people. And then long term, you're going to get more referrals from that because he had such a wonderful experience.
Yes, he's already referred some people. So,
Oh, well, there you go. So, people listening, it makes sense to go above and beyond, go that extra mile because it will get paid back in 10 times, right?
in spades. And, it's not, I don't go into anything because I'm trying to get referrals. I go into it pure of intent, and that tends to be a byproduct of it. But what I will say is, for me, that is my gauge to myself, because you got to keep yourself honest, whether you're doing a good job or not. And so that to me, if you trust me with your family and your friends and refer me to others, it means hopefully that you've done a good job and
Yeah.
that they've liked working with you.
Yeah. And the proof is there. So, look, a lot of people that we speak to, this year has been, what are the words we've used in the past? Weird, different. So, but for you, where you're at, how has it been? Sort of what were your transactions like last year compared to this year?
I actually have done more volume this year. Last year was a bit tough. I had some medical things, so I couldn't be there as often as I would like. That said, this year was a really good year for me. I know that's the antithesis of the experience of most of the agents I speak to. But for me, it was actually a really good year and ending really well as well. Normally in Southwest Florida, we have very specific peak time periods, and then off season, right? So we have in season and off season, and those have become a little bit blurred as our market has fluctuated, but it's still very present. Our traffic can go up 40% during certain times of the year. So what really I managed through well was the low season. I did some good transactions during that time period. Which I hope to replicate, obviously, and grow this year. But now, because I'm not born and bred as a real estate agent, but now being 3.5 to 4 years into it, you're really starting to see people that you sold homes to, putting them on the market again, then you're finding them new homes, and you're really starting to see the first full cycle. And for me, and I know that a lot of agents are still very annoyed and trepidatious about the buyer broker agreement, but I actually took that as my opportunity to really control what I make on the buy side, and not from I'm a true believer that pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. So I don't mean that from a greedy standpoint. What I mean is there are people that you've worked with, I should say, for 2 to 2.5 years, right? And you've finally sold a home, and you've gotten them now to sell the buyer broker agreement at 3% or whatever it is, and the home's only offering 1.5 or 2, which again, that's all part of the negotiation, as it should be. And so I have just the art of negotiation is what I live for. I used to negotiate in factories all around the world to book millions of units of product. And so, I just explained that I've been working with these people for 2.5 years. This is where the buyer broker agreement is. They're really not interested in paying a portion of my commission. And so here we are. How would you like to proceed? And what does that look like on your side? And I will never keep any client from getting a home that they want. But I think it's part of the negotiation and your worth as an agent.
100%. And so what's next then for Kerry? What are your goals? 2025 is here.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I think, and to be honest, this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast. One of my areas of development is absolutely social media, and podcasting and all of those things. I am not, and have not been, I have always viewed it as very self-indulgent. And I'm one who likes to be behind the camera and, I used to style photo shoots and all of those things. And just a workhorse, kind of nose to the grindstone, get things done, negotiate in the factories. I've never needed to, and I used to have to, report to Wall Street and do that kind of stuff and be on a stage where you're presenting to 10,000 people. I didn't love it. It wasn't my thing. I like, to put together the whole plan, but I don't need to be out there in front. And this is really, someone said to me, Kerry, it's about, just the day to day, what you're doing. People are interested. What did you put under contract? What did you, virtually stage today and show a before and after and all of those things. And I've just never thought that people would be quite interested in that, but they seem to be. So my number one goal for 2025 is to really embrace social media, post more often, incorporate more touch points, and embrace the process, which I have been resistant to doing up until now.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, that leads beautifully in then to our last question, because here at Icons of Real Estate, we're not just a podcast, we're the number one real estate podcast network. And we are passionate about making podcasting accessible to anybody who's involved in the business of real estate. So if you were to have your own podcast, maybe in 2025, what would you call it?
This is a real personal one, and there's a reason why. I have 18 nieces and nephews, and my husband has a sister also named Kerry. And so they used to call her Aunt Kerry, and they used to just call me Aunt. And they always call me and ask advice. It's easy when you're not their parent. And my thoughts about things, a lot of it business related. And so I think I would call it Ask Aunt Kerry. And because there's a very personal meaning to it, and hopefully in part or be able to answer difficult questions, situations, and impart my thoughts and hopefully
Beautiful.
A portion of wisdom.
Beautiful. Absolutely love that. And it's personal, and then it's still linked with what you do. So if the listeners are out there and they want to get in touch, how do they find you? How do they reach out to you?
Sure. So I am Kerry at Kerry.Hartman at Compass.com. I'm with Compass Real Estate in Southwest Florida, which is just announced. We've partnered with Christie's, so we have a real global reach. But you can always find me on any Compass website. And attached to, when you get down to Kerry.Hartman at Compass.com, are my social media channels are attached to that, which will be more robust coming in 2025. So stay tuned. And I have been asked to do a plethora of podcasts. You guys were the first, so I appreciate your time and really breaking me into the process.
Brilliant. Well, it's been fascinating talking to you. So really, thank you so much for your time. To the listeners, Kerry's details will be in the show notes, so make sure that you go back to them. So thank you for your time, and I will be back next time with the Icons of Real Estate podcast. Bye for now.